This video is filled with amazing advice from the top ED recovery YouTubers out there on how to actually achieve full recovery, get your period back, and restore your metabolism. Let's dive into the first one.
So it really became obsessive for me. I was counting the amount of carrots that I ate. I was trying to be good and stick to that 1,200 calories a day that my FitnessPal gave me. Now, this is utter bogus because no one, not a doctor, not a dietitian, not an app, definitely, can ever tell you exactly the amount of calories that your body needs per day. It ebbs and flows, it fluctuates, and it's never going to be the same day to day. So the idea that someone can give you a set calorie goal and say this is what you need to eat per day is bogus, because one day you're going to be overeating and the next day you're going to be undereating, and that is just going to lead to the restrict binge cycle, because your body is going to see, oh my gosh, I didn't get enough food that day, so I'm going to really want food the next day, and you're probably going to go over that limit, and that is going to lead you to feel guilty, and that's going to lead you to restrict, and then that's going to lead you to biologically want more food because you didn't get enough. It's just this endless cycle. So those numbers, they're not accurate. No one can tell you the number you need.
So let's first talk about our worst and most brutal critic of all, ourselves. The first thing I really felt like I really needed to do from the beginning was get out of my stupid brain. The way that I looked mattered so much, because I really needed to take a step back and remember all the qualities that I possess that are way more important than the way that I look, and just remind myself that my physique and my appearance is just not that interesting. I started to value in me qualities that I value in others, like being supportive, caring, compassionate, kind, and just pleasant to be around. Now that I had my priorities in order, I can move on to a really kind of small but bad habit that I had. And this is arguably the most actionable tip of this video, and that is to stop body checking. Just stop it. I personally made sure to do this myself from the beginning. It's a really weird, strange, narcissistic habit that's hard to break, and a lot of people do it, so don't feel ashamed if you do. But if you do, just stop it. Stop checking for a flat tummy or checking to see if eating good food that your body likely wants is changing your body in any way. In my case, I just stopped my morning ritual of a quick ab check, and I just got dressed like a normal person and moved on with my day.
But we do get this narrative quite a bit from the world about most things, which is that, I'll start on Monday, I'll start tomorrow. I have an issue with this for a couple of reasons, particularly around recovery. And that is that we're expecting more of our future self than we're willing to expect of our current self. We're putting an awful lot of pressure on our future self to feel a way we're not willing to expect ourselves to feel right now. We're expecting our future selves to take on responsibility or have this, light bulb moment that we're not expecting of ourselves currently. And that's not fair, because that builds up pressure. I always think of my past, and I think of myself generally with a lot of empathy, but particularly about my future self. Like, no, I'm not going to leave the dishes for Mia to do tomorrow morning when she's got back-to-back clients, etc. I'm going to do her a solid favor, and I'm going to get this stuff done now. My second problem with the whole I'll start on Monday mentality is it then gives us a window, or our eating disorder or our behaviors a window to operate in a way that's like, this is my last chance. And a lot of the time, and I know this because I did it, is that you'll try to get the most out of your eating disorder behaviors before you've given yourself that deadline. Again, if you fall into an even deeper hole of behaviors because it's the last time you'll be able to do it, the likelihood that you're going to be able to pull yourself out of it to get better on Monday is pretty much diminished down to nothing. Basically, my attitude is that you get to start again, you get to live life, you get to do what you need to do or you want to do, or take care of yourself this second, not even the next second, this second.
But she said, I'm afraid of personally meeting and then having to reintroduce the woman version of myself. And my response here, and I'm just going to kind of read it, I was like, wouldn't it be weird if we all presented ourselves to the world as our 14-year-old self? Like, wouldn't it be weird if I was still just like being 14-year-old me? And my point in saying that was that, like, we all change and grow. gosh, that's like the one sure thing about life, is that we're constantly changing, evolving, and growing. Not even just like year to year to year, but every single month, every single week, like we are growing. Like personally, I just went through a breakup, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I learned and I grew and I like progressed forward, and I became a different version of myself just from dating someone for 5-6 months. Like you are always shifting and changing, and it would be really weird if we were the same all the time. And so it's like, I have this fear. I'm going to shift. I'm going to change. Other people are going to notice. I'm like, well, welcome to the world where we're all shifting and changing. And we're all stepping into different versions of ourselves, like every single day. So I ended it with saying, like, you have the permission to shift and to change and to finally step into that woman version of you. And here's the thing. This is what we have to stop doing, girls. We have to stop constantly kind of analyzing what other people are going to think. Oh, I do this, what are other people going to think? I'm going to do that, what are other people going to think? I'm like, stop choosing your life based on what other people are going to think. Newsflash here, we are all on a floating rock in the middle of the universe. Okay, we all have a very small lifespan here on this planet. Every single person you know is eventually going to die. Why do you care what they think? Let them think what they think. Let them think those thoughts of, oh wow, look, now she's a woman, okay. Let them have those thoughts. Don't live your life in this like kind of small space just because you're fearful of someone else having a thought about you, which is probably one in billions of thoughts that they will have in their life. Who cares if one is directed at you for one specific reason? The funny thing here is that like, even if you tried so hard to not have anyone, have thoughts about you, people are still going to have thoughts about you even if you're trying. So they may be having a thought about you right now, like, oh, this is weird. She hasn't shifted, she hasn't changed, and she's like 35 years old, and she still is in like a 14-year-old body and still kind of acting like a 14-year-old. And oh, that's kind of weird. So it's like even in you trying not to get the attention, you're getting the attention.
So if you're coming from this place of dieting and all that I just talked about, pretty much all you need to do right now is eat, and you need to eat a lot, especially if you have extreme mental or physical hunger. You need to feed your body and nourish your body to get your metabolism to rise again. Your body needs to sense that it is having an abundance of energy coming in again, and therefore it can trust that it's going to be fed consistently, and it can then slowly begin to raise the metabolism again. And this is a slow process. So you may need to gain some weight. You need to rest, and you need to eat a lot of food, and probably more of a variety of foods, right? So you need to eat those carbs, you need to eat those fats, you need to eat the bread, you need to eat the pizza, like whatever you're craving. That's gonna actually be the most healthiest thing for you at this point. You need to get past all of the fear foods, and if you want to learn more about that, I have a whole video on facing your fear foods. You also need to get past all the issues with gaining weight, the fears of gaining weight.
So the first main problem that led to my binge eating was restricting. So restricting the number of calories, I thought that to lose loads of fat and to look lean all the time was to be on a really, really reduced calorie intake. So I was eating about 1,400 calories, 1,500 calories every single day, thinking that I would end up losing loads of weight. And then the second thing was actually restricting certain foods that I was eating. I went through different periods. So when I was like 16, it was like I was obsessed with just eating like low fat foods, and then it was like low sugar, and then it was paleo and low carb. And yeah, I think I definitely had orthorexia as well. I was just obsessed with like eating the healthiest foods there were, and that meant like absolutely no chocolate. And like I love chocolate, absolutely adore chocolate, but I just put this whole like ban on it that kind of makes you want more. If you aren't allowed to do something, doesn't it make you want to do it more? And that's just kind of how I was thinking about it. So those two things together kind of created huge cycles of me like not eating and then massively overeating. And And then as a result, it actually caused problems with my hormones. Like, it completely changed my hormone profile. Obviously, like, my hunger hormones would start to kick in, stress hormones would kick in, and also, like, I lost my period for about 6 years. I completely lost my period, and I had a DEXA scan. I can't remember how old I was, but this was like a few years ago, and I was close to having osteoporosis. Like, I was at -2.3, so it was serious. Like, I'd given myself these problems all because I wanted to look a certain way. I was almost like sabotaging future Natasha. I'm all good now, by the way. I'll do that in another video if you guys want to see that. But yeah, so that effectively, as well as like causing all sorts of mental issues, also like physically expressed itself as well.
But your eating disorder self has a very moralistic, emotional response to hunger. There's a reason why it takes the view of hunger that it does. Maybe to your eating disorder self, it represents weakness or a lack of virtuosity, or there's some kind of moral tie-in with the feeling of hunger. Eating disorder self really takes a very psychological, emotionally driven interpretation of something which is purely a biological, physiological message being sent by your body saying, hey, if you want to move around and blink your eyes and have your heart beating and hug your loved ones and go traveling and go to work every day, I'm going to need you to listen to the fact that I don't have enough fuel and energy to A, be able to do that, B, be able to do it properly, or C, do it in a way that makes it possible for you to live your life fully and in a free and happy way. So that on a basic level is why we need to respond to extreme hunger and what extreme hunger is and why it shows up. It's a response to a deficit, to restriction. And the number one thing your body needs to start to heal you is the energy to do so, is the intake to be able to run those processes and heal them and get you back to where you need to be from a physical health standpoint. We just get stuck on, I'm gaining weight, there's more fat on my body, I have to eat just because I have to eat. Your body is doing an extraordinary thing. It is, from the day you start trying, from the day you start to give it what it's asking for, it starts to show up for you. I mean, it's always been trying to show up for you.
When does the extreme hunger stop? Once you have listened to it fully, once you are fully nutritionally rehabilitated. Easy as that, guys. If you want it to stop, then continue eating. The best thing that we can do with extreme hunger is to just not stop it. And I see people sabotage their recovery all the time because they go, no, this is insane. I shouldn't be having extreme hunger still. And I'm like, can you stop dictating what your body needs, please? Like, you're gaslighting your body. I think we need to stop doing that. So, the best thing you can do is just write it, have fun with it, eat the things that your extreme hunger wants, and you'll see that it eventually does stop. Again, there's no timeline. Extreme hunger can come in and out as well. 3 days on, 2 months off, 5 weeks on, 1 week off. Like, you just gotta listen to it. There's no rhyme or reason besides.
I had an email from Mary. It was a short email. Mary said that, could I explain how one cannot be in energy deficit and also not continue to gain weight forever. And Mary said that continuing to gain weight and gain weight and gain weight is her number one fear. And she doesn't understand how that doesn't happen if you're not actively restricting. The thing is, Mary, is that your brain, and you're not the only one, I did it too when I had anorexia, and plenty of people with restrictive eating disorders' brains work the same way. Your brain has gone straight from, well, if I'm not in energy deficit, then I must be in energy surplus, and therefore I'll just continue to gain weight forever. And you've completely overstepped the balance part. That's how a person cannot be in energy deficit and also not continue to gain weight indefinitely, because they're in energy balance, which is actually the whole point. And in order to get into energy balance, when one is in energy deficit, one has to be in energy surplus in order to get to actual balance. And our bodies take care of that nicely for us, because most of us, when we are in energy deficit, secretly that mental hunger we really, really want to eat, and that's your body actually trying to inspire you to go like, you've got to eat way more than a normal amount of food because I need some surplus because I've got to get to balance.
I was so focused on health. I was the type of person that I probably listened to 80 hours a week of YouTube videos on just health and wellness and nutrition. And I read so many books and listened to so many podcasts. And I was always cutting out this and cutting out that thing and buying seaweed noodles and goji berries and things like that. And it's just so funny as I look back at it and go, doing those moments where I was so fanatic about health and fanatic about what I was eating, I was the most unhealthy I've ever been. And this is the paradox of it, that the more and more you become obsessed about health, the more and more you deplete your health. So today I'm just going to share my thoughts on why being so health focused can really be detrimental to one's health. So let's just start off with the number one reason is it creates guilt, shame, anxiety, and stress around food.
Okay, the first thing you don't want to hear about when it's time to think about recovery from HA or OTS is, number one, human beings actually do have limits. It may be romantic to consider a world in which the realities of physiology do not apply. I would also like to forget about physics, chemistry, my endocrine system. Unfortunately, that is not our reality. That is not what you should be expecting. There is no such thing as no limits. Despite what you may have seen on 1,000,001 t-shirts, the human body does not work on marketing messages. And by the way, those t-shirts are designed to tell you something. They're not designed to tell you the truth about your body. Can you imagine a marketing message for the endocrine system? Push me sometimes, but not chronically. And maybe I won't be terrible to you sometimes. Yeah, that doesn't sound so good on a t-shirt. In my time as an athlete, I've seen some very interesting things that people say about whether or not their physical body has limits. The more it hurts, the stronger you're getting. Ooh, not all the time. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Not so much. Oh, and here's another favorite one from my world of ultra running. Unless you are bleeding, vomiting, or unconscious, you should keep going. Being real, I know that sometimes people come up with these slogans or they come up with these mantras because they help them push past a limitation that is probably not serious. So if someone is really looking to get off the couch and go for a run and they need help in that area, they might kind of push themselves in this way to motivate themselves. But if you're watching this channel, the last thing you need is more motivation and more reason to push yourself. What you have to understand is that the realities of physiology dictate that the human body does have limits. And when you bang up against those limits, you're going to be in trouble. If you actually acknowledge and respect those limits, you are not going to bang into them. And you as an athlete will potentially stay healthier for a longer period of time. So embrace your limitations. Do not try to say that you don't have them. That's a recipe for disaster.
Now, a lot of the diets used to treat digestive disorders are restrictive as I know, because when I started my journey with my gut, I had to be really honest with myself that doing a full-out low FODMAP elimination diet would have likely triggered me. And I know that because my eating disorder from way back 20 years ago actually originated with an innocent elimination diet prescribed by a naturopathic doctor. And then it just spiraled into a full-blown fear of food. Literally all of these things that we've just talked about happened to me, and they happen to so many others as well who are just trying to feel better in their day-to-day. So what can you do to treat your functional gut disorder without further perpetuating your ED? Well, tip 1, unfollow any influencer who promises to heal your gut with another diet, and just work with a team who has experience with functional gut disorders and eating disorders. If a practitioner does not screen for disordered eating or ignores your history while prescribing another really restrictive diet, that's a really big red flag. Folks, we cannot heal the gut until we've addressed the eating disorder. And if this treatment is happening concurrently, it needs to be handled by a really experienced team. I also recommend recruiting a loved one or family member to support you and to eat with you, which will make it a lot easier for you to get through some of the more challenging points. Now, tip 2 is to eat regular meals and snacks at regular intervals every day, aka mechanical eating. So this is usually around 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks a day. And it is necessary for a lot of people to regain hunger cues and to regulate normal motility patterns. Intuitive eating is just not really possible for folks with active eating disorders. So keep in mind that it's normal for this to feel very unintuitive at first.